What if the secret to mastering reality wasn't found in ancient texts or sacred rituals, but in something far more immediate, something you do over 20,000 times a day without even thinking? Your breath. Across every esoteric tradition, from the Hermetic alchemists to Himalayan yogis, the act of breathing has been revered not as mere biology, but as the most potent spiritual technology ever known. The Egyptians encoded it in their hieroglyphs as the Ankh, the key of life. The Taoists called it Qi, the cosmic current that animates all existence. Even the Bible's original Hebrew text reveals a stunning truth. The word for breath, ruach, is the same as the word for spirit. This is no coincidence. What you're about to discover is why every authentic mystical path begins with the same foundation: breath mastery. But this goes far beyond relaxation techniques or better oxygen flow. When you truly command your breath, you command the invisible forces that shape your energy, your consciousness, and even the fabric of your reality. Ancient initiates spent decades perfecting this art, because they knew a secret modern science is only now beginning to understand. Your breathing pattern is the switch between your ordinary mind and states of supernatural clarity, between being a passenger of fate and a sculptor of destiny. The mastery of breath has been the unshakable cornerstone of every authentic spiritual tradition since the dawn of civilization. In the shadowed halls of Egypt's mystery schools, initiates were taught that the breath carried the secret name of God, a sacred vibration that could unlock higher states of consciousness when properly harnessed. The Hindu Vedas, some of humanity's oldest spiritual texts, describe pranayama breath control as the bridge between mortal awareness and divine consciousness, with the Rig Veda declaring, breath is the thread on which all worlds are strung. The ancient Taoists developed intricate breathing systems to cultivate and circulate qi, believing that mastery of breath was mastery of life force itself. Even in the West, the often misunderstood Hermetic tradition contains coded references to the circulation of light, a clear allusion to advanced breathing techniques that could activate latent spiritual faculties. The Greek philosopher Pythagoras required his students to spend their first 3 years of study learning only one discipline: conscious breathing. His secret teachings revealed that specific rhythmic breathing patterns could attune the human organism to the music of the spheres, the harmonic vibrations governing the universe. In the Islamic mystical tradition, Sufi masters developed the science of nafas, sacred breath, teaching that controlled breathing could dissolve the illusion of separation between man and the divine. The Kabbalists went further, mapping precise correlations between Hebrew letter vibrations, breath patterns, and the Sephirotic tree of life. Their most guarded secret? That the divine name YHWH was actually a coded breathing technique: inhale Ya, hold Va, exhale Ha. Perhaps most revealing are the parallels between these ancient systems. Whether we examine the Buddhist practice of Tummo inner fire breathing, the Christian Hesychast tradition of prayer of the heart breathing, or the shamanic breathwork of indigenous cultures, we find the same underlying principle: breath is the interface between matter and spirit. The 13th century alchemist Roger Bacon wrote of this in his coded manuscripts, describing how the aerial spirit, when properly controlled, could produce effects that would appear miraculous to the uninitiated. Even in the modern era, Nikola Tesla's mysterious experiments with resonant frequencies grew from his study of ancient breathing techniques from the Yugoslavian oral tradition. What these diverse traditions all recognized, and what modern science is only beginning to verify, is that conscious breathing does far more than oxygenate blood. It alters brainwave patterns, recalibrates the nervous system, and activates dormant biochemical pathways. The ancient Indian rishis spoke of prana vayus, 5 directional winds within the body that govern everything from digestion to higher cognition. The Chinese Taoists mapped nearly invisible channels called meridians, through which breath-activated qi would flow. Modern research now confirms that controlled breathing stimulates the vagus nerve, balances the autonomic nervous system, and can even modify gene expression through epigenetic mechanisms. The mystics were right all along. Breath is indeed the master key to human potential. When you begin mastering your breath, the first transformation occurs at the most fundamental level of your being. Your consciousness itself shifts. Ordinary breathing is an unconscious process, governed by the primitive brainstem, keeping you locked in reactive patterns of thinking and perception. But the moment you take conscious control of this autonomic function, something remarkable happens. You activate what neuroscientists call interoceptive awareness, the gateway to true self-mastery. Ancient traditions describe this as awakening the inner witness, where for the first time, you're no longer identified with the constant chatter of your mind, but become the observer of it. This is why every authentic spiritual path begins with breathwork. It's the most direct way to step out of conditioned existence and into conscious evolution. The physiological alchemy that occurs during controlled breathing reveals why it's been so carefully guarded throughout history. As you deepen and slow your breath, you trigger what's known as the Bohr effect, a biochemical phenomenon where increased carbon dioxide levels from breath retention actually helps your blood release more oxygen to tissues and organs. This explains the ancient Taoist claims that proper breathing could nourish the marrow and rejuvenate the organs. Modern research now shows this same process enhances mitochondrial function, essentially upgrading your body's energy production at the cellular level. The yogis weren't speaking metaphorically when they described prana as vital life force, they were documenting observable reality centuries before microscopes could verify it. But the true magic begins when we examine how breath mastery affects the brain. MRI studies reveal that disciplined breathing creates coherence between the prefrontal cortex, higher reasoning, and the limbic system, emotional processing. This neural integration is what the alchemists called the marriage of sun and moon, the balancing of masculine and feminine energies within. Through specific breathing patterns, you can deliberately shift your brain from beta waves normal waking consciousness into alpha relaxed awareness, theta deep meditation, and even gamma peak insight states. This explains why mystics throughout history could access transcendent states at will. They had discovered the biological shortcuts to higher consciousness. The breath's power over the autonomic nervous system is perhaps its most practical superpower. By extending your exhalations, you activate the parasympathetic rest and digest response, directly counteracting the stress hormones that keep most people trapped in fight or flight mode. But advanced practitioners take this further. They develop what's called autonomic flexibility, the ability to consciously modulate between sympathetic and parasympathetic states. This is the physiological basis behind those astonishing accounts of yogis controlling heart rate, body temperature, and even metabolic functions. It's not supernatural, it's supernormal human potential unlocked through respiratory alchemy. Perhaps most fascinating is how breath mastery reshapes your relationship with time itself. When researchers examined long-term meditators, they found something extraordinary. Their perception of time dilation wasn't just subjective, it correlated with measurable changes in brain function. Through specific breathing rhythms, you can literally slow down your experience of time, creating what athletes call the zone, and mystics describe as eternal presence. This explains why all peak performance training, from Olympic athletes to special forces operatives, now incorporates breath control as its foundation. The ancients knew what modern science is confirming. Whoever controls their breath, controls their reality. As you progress beyond basic breath control, you begin unlocking the more esoteric dimensions of this practice, realms where breathing transforms from a physiological process to a metaphysical technology. The ancient tantric texts speak of vayus, 5 subtle winds that govern everything from cellular metabolism to higher cognition. When you master your breath, you gain direct access to these subtle energies. The apana vayu, normally responsible for elimination functions, can be consciously redirected upward through breath retention to fuel spiritual awakening. This explains the otherwise baffling claims in medieval alchemical texts about reversing the flow and making what is above is below. They weren't speaking in riddles, they were documenting precise energetic transformations achievable through advanced breathwork. The relationship between breath and consciousness becomes even more profound when examining the phenomenon of kumbhaka, the deliberate cessation of breathing practiced in advanced yoga. Modern research now shows that during skilled breath retention, the brain enters a unique state where both oxygen and carbon dioxide levels create ideal conditions for neuroplasticity. This is why initiates throughout history could achieve in minutes what takes others decades of meditation. The Egyptian breath of life rituals, the Sufi nafas techniques, and the Buddhist tumo practices all share this common thread, using breath suspension to force consciousness into higher gears. Contemporary biofeedback studies confirm that during these states, the brain produces harmonic oscillations between normally disconnected regions, creating what scientists call transient hypofrontality, the temporary quieting of the analytical mind that allows direct mystical experience. One of the most guarded secrets of breath mastery involves its effect on the body's electromagnetic field. Every inhale and exhale creates measurable changes in your biofield, with coherent breathing patterns producing highly ordered electromagnetic signatures. This isn't just metaphor. University studies using squid magnetometers have shown advanced practitioners can generate biomagnetic fields up to 1,000 times stronger than normal during specific breathing techniques. Suddenly, the ancient claims of creating protective shields, or emanating healing energy, take on new credibility. The Rosicrucian texts that spoke of building the golden armor through breath were describing measurable phenomena that modern science is only beginning to quantify. Perhaps most revolutionary is how breath mastery affects what researchers now call intercellular communication. The rhythmic pressure changes from disciplined breathing create piezoelectric effects in your connective tissues, essentially turning your entire body into a bioelectric information network. This explains the otherwise inexplicable healing claims in traditions like Qigong, where masters could allegedly repattern organs through breath alone. Modern studies on fascial conductivity confirm that the body's connective tissue matrix functions as a semiconductor network, and breath is its modulation system. When the Taoist text spoke of breathing through your bones, they were referencing this very real biophysical phenomenon. The ultimate frontier of breath mastery lies in its potential to alter spacetime perception. Advanced practitioners across traditions report the ability to step outside of time during certain breathing states. Cutting-edge physics now suggests why. The brain's timekeeping mechanisms rely on predictable metabolic cycles that controlled breathing can deliberately disrupt. By mastering specific respiratory ratios like the 1:4:2 ratio of inhale, hold, exhale in certain yoga traditions, you essentially hack your neurology's clock speed. This isn't mystical speculation, it's why every authentic esoteric tradition from the Pythagoreans to the Vedic rishis made breath control their foundational practice. They understood what we're now rediscovering, that human consciousness isn't fixed, but fluid, and breath is its master key. The true power of breath mastery reveals itself not in theory but in daily practice. Begin with the foundational technique all ancient traditions agree upon: diaphragmatic breathing. Place one hand on your abdomen and inhale deeply through the nose, ensuring your belly expands while your chest remains still. This simple act activates your vagus nerve, immediately triggering parasympathetic relaxation. Practice this for 5 minutes each morning, gradually extending to 15 minutes as your capacity grows. The Egyptian priests used this exact method to prepare for their mystical rites, knowing it created the ideal brainwave state for higher perception. Modern biofeedback research confirms they were right. Diaphragmatic breathing increases theta wave activity by 300% compared to normal respiration. For those seeking accelerated transformation, the 4-7-8 technique offers profound results. Inhale quietly through your nose for 4 seconds, hold the breath for 7 seconds, then exhale completely through your mouth for 8 seconds. This ratio, derived from ancient Pythagorean mathematics, creates precise biochemical changes, lowering blood pressure, reducing cortisol by up to 50%, and increasing melatonin production. The Hindu Upanishads reference this same ratio as the breath of the gods, while modern studies show it can induce meditative states in as little as 3 cycles. Practice this technique before sleep or during stressful situations. You'll understand why the Greek oracles used it to enter trance states. Advanced practitioners should explore alternate nostril breathing, nadi shodhana, the crown jewel of yogic breathwork. Using your right thumb to close your right nostril, inhale through the left for 4 counts. Close both nostrils and hold for 16 counts. Begin with shorter holds if needed. Release the right nostril and exhale for 8 counts. Repeat on the opposite side. This practice, documented in 5,000-year-old tantric texts, balances the brain's hemispheres and synchronizes cardiovascular rhythms. Contemporary research at Stanford University found it enhances cognitive performance by 23% compared to normal breathing. The alchemists called this the circulation of light. We now know it creates measurable coherence between heart and brain electromagnetic fields. For spiritual awakening, incorporate the breath of fire, Kapalabhati technique, rapid, rhythmic diaphragmatic contractions without pause between breaths. Start with 30 seconds and gradually build to 3 minutes. This method, preserved in secret Kabbalistic manuscripts under the name Divine Bellows, floods the brain with cerebrospinal fluid and triggers DMT release from the pineal gland. Neuroscience confirms it produces immediate gamma wave activity, the brainwave state associated with transcendent awareness. The Sufi masters who could reportedly go without food for weeks relied on this technique to generate internal energy. Remember the golden rule all traditions emphasize: consistency matters more than duration. 7 minutes daily of focused practice yields greater transformation than sporadic hour-long sessions. Keep a breath journal to track your progress. The Rosicrucians mandated their students record every respiratory experiment. Modern apps can measure your heart rate variability improvements, proving what the ancients knew intuitively. Breath mastery is the most direct path to awakening your latent potential. Start today. Your future self will thank you with every conscious breath. As we've journeyed through these ancient breathing techniques, one truth becomes undeniable: your breath is the most powerful yet underutilized tool for transformation. From the Egyptian priests to Himalayan yogis, the greatest mystics understood that conscious breathing isn't just practice, it's the gateway to your highest potential. Each inhale carries the opportunity to rewrite your biology, and each exhale the chance to reshape your reality. The science now confirms what these traditions always knew. When you master your breath, you become the alchemist of your own existence. But knowledge without application remains merely philosophy. I challenge you to take just one technique from today's video, whether it's the 4-7-8 method or alternate nostril breathing, and commit to practicing it daily for the next 7 days. Observe the subtle shifts in your energy, your mental clarity, and your emotional balance. This is how real transformation begins, not in grand gestures, but in consistent, disciplined practice. The ancient mystery schools guarded these breathing secrets because they understood their power. Today, you hold this wisdom in your hands, or more accurately, in your lungs. What you do with it now is your choice. Will you let it remain as information, or will you breathe it into being as transformation? If this exploration of breath mastery resonated with you, share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Your sharing helps spread these ancient truths to those ready to receive them. Don't forget to like this video if you found it valuable. Your feedback helps guide what we explore next. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're just beginning to uncover the deepest mysteries of human potential. Until next time, remember, the secret to mastering reality was within you all along. Keep breathing consciously, keep exploring deeply, and keep awakening to your true power. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next revelation.